Okay, I've done a little bit of tidying up work here. As you can see, I've loomed together the first three injector lines and the second three. It makes it a little bit cleaner when it goes to install. You know exactly what goes where. This is wrapped with some kind of a high temp cloth tape. I made this little clamp here out of an old, I don't even know what I made it out of, but it's got some thick rubber type tape on the inside. Then I put a piece of heat shrink for control chafing. I wrapped some rubber reinforced friction tape around the cloth loom here, again for more strain relief and anti-abrasion. The grounds I might tie all these grounds to one lug and tighten this all up. I don't really like the way it's kind of excess here. I tried to route these a little better so it's a little more intuitive where everything goes, less likelihood of plugging things in the wrong way. There's the cotton loom. I got rid of that poly stuff, that stuff on the ground there. Mainly because I did that initially because I wanted it to be easily removable as I'm wiring it up. But now that it's done, I'm happy with it. There's no really real reason to have the split part. And it's just so fat, compared to, look at the difference in thickness. And that's important because inside the car there's little metal things that wrap around and hold it firmly against the chassis in the car in the engine bay. So, and I did that all the way down to the end of the computer. So we should be pretty good to go on that. The one thing that's left that's undone really is this, and that's because I haven't finalized what I'm going to do here, and I'm still running on the test stand. The end game would be to shorten this piece here, which goes to the AFM, to wherever it needs to be, and I can do that once I get it finalized, installed. And this will have its own separate piece of heat shrink that'll consolidate all these wires into one piece. And this will go to the ignition module, which will reside right next to the ignition coil. It just needs a trigger and a return, and then I also have the purple and the blue wires here. I'm sorry, the purple and the black wire. That's the AFM self-cleaning trigger. Like I think I told you before, I was going to use a relay to fire that using the BCCD input that goes to the old 280Z's input manifold. It's an on-off trigger that looks at 10 miles an hour over, under. I can use that to trigger the relay, and hopefully that'll work. So those are only two things that are left undone, but that's intentional. What's going on here is I was curious about monitoring the O2, and that's because there's a lot of confusion on the type of O2 sensor used. There's a titania type and there's a zirconia type, and it's kind of foggy on which. I've currently got the titania type, which is what the 88 was it 87 or 88? I can't remember. One of the FSM said is correct for this particular ECU. Well, just for fun, I tried plugging in. This is a zirconia type. It's unheated. Okay, absolutely did not work whatsoever. It just went into open loop on the ECU, and the green light just stayed on the whole time. Okay, so I don't think that was working. So I believe this is the correct sensor for this particular computer. But again, that's my guess. I'm guessing it is because you see the green and the light going on and off, and the red keeping up. So it seems to be working like it's supposed to. Now, to further that, I wanted to actually see the output. So I put a probe into the output side of the O2 sensor, and the ground is the other side. I ran that into the multimeter, and it was definitely toggling between like 10, 100 millivolts to a volt, just up and down constantly. So I believe that's what it's supposed to do. I don't have a graphing type multimeter, so I can't really do the normal, nice pretty curves you always see people showing on their things, like going up and down. And the problem with a digital multimeter is the output just fluctuates. I don't know if it's through the refresh rate or whatever is going on there, but it's not clear what's going on. I do have an analog meter. The problem is that one of the analog meters I have is a Simpson 260, which I think puts too much of a load on the system to really use. So I'm gonna do a test here. I'm gonna put my HP VTVM, that's a vacuum tube voltmeter, very high impedance, and it's analog. It has a needle, so hopefully I can take that needle, we'll be able to see it fluctuate. And if I get around to doing that, I'll make a quick video just showing how that can be used. But you should be able to see the needle going back and forth if the thing is in closed loop and it's doing what it's supposed to do. But anyway, that's an update on the harness. I really like the tape over the polyloom. Feel a lot better about that. This thing's surprisingly easy to hook up now with all the stuff pretty much laid out, so it'll just drop right on. I think it'll be a lot easier to hook up. My only issue now is how to hook up this AFM. And I looked at my car, I'm pretty sure I can mount it right in a normal location, which is simulated by this little thing right here. Put it right here, and then on the output side, and it can sit on top of the little perch that exists for the current AFM. Right now, that perch was a big problem with a much larger AFM that comes with the flapper. Trying to get that to work is impossible because it's real tight in here. That thing's huge, okay? With this little small guy, my hope is I can put it right up to the air filter and then run a short duct down to the intake pipe here. It goes sort of like this, okay? And I want to get a pipe that'll connect from that end up to, where it needs to be. So that'll be the next part of the process. I'll probably just take the existing AFM out of the car and, go over here. Let's get over there and see what I'm doing. Get right over here and see if I can't position that AFM right in there and then have it get past. It has to clear the intake pipe and go down. So it's kind of a tight. I'll probably end up going right down in here and then around. I don't know yet. We'll have to come back and see how that works. That's been the biggest problem all along in figuring out how to hook up that AFM to the air filter. A lot of people just take the air filter and just stick it right up in here. You just jam it right in there onto the intake. Well, this is hot air. All around the inside of the engine bay is hot air. I really don't like that. So I really want to use a true air filter. And I'd actually prefer the air filter that's not the big cone type that have no metal shroud around. I want a real air filter that protects it from the environment and from water getting splashed up on it and all the other kind of stuff. So that's where I think the bulk of my work's going to be to figure that out. In the interim, what I'll probably end up doing, I've been kind of contemplating a test, and that would be take this setup and install it on the normally aspirated engine. Okay, change out the distributor obviously, and just run non-turbo, just run NA, just to test out how well all the fitment of the wiring harness, the connections underneath the dash. If that works, then I can do an engine swap, or maybe even just pull the intake and the exhaust manifold and put it on the existing engine and run it like that. I don't know, I haven't gotten there yet. But anyway, I just want to show this how much nicer this loom looks now that it's been reduced. That big poly stuff's been replaced. It's much, much thinner. Thanks for watching. Bye.